All right, let's be real. Quitting your job sounds like the dream. No more alarm clocks, no more passive-aggressive emails, no more pretending you're busy when your boss walks by. It's freedom, right? Until suddenly you realize you are now your own boss, your own employee, your own HR department, and oh yeah, the office coffee unfortunately still isn't going to make itself. And that is when the panic sets in. Because now, instead of complaining about how overworked you are, you're standing in your kitchen at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, wondering if watching a third productivity video on YouTube counts as work. If you've ever made a massive life transition, whether it be changing careers, moving to a new city, or finally deciding to stop wearing jeans that don't stretch, and if you aren't already, what the hell are you waiting for, you weirdo? You know how disorienting these adjustments can be. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest transitions of my life, leaving my full-time radio gig to step fully into coaching, podcasting, and a life of adventure. But first, hi, welcome to the Wolverine Lifestyle Podcast, where personal growth meets deep thought and introspection. I am your host, Dylan Andres, and in this episode, we are exploring my personal journey through the journal prompt, Navigating Life Transitions. What transitions have you experienced recently, and how have they impacted your sense of self? Let's talk about the leap. You know the one. The moment when you make a decision so big, so scary, that it feels like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, staring down at the unknown and asking yourself, am I really about to do this? For myself, that moment came when I decided to leave my full-time radio job. It had been my structure, my stability. Working in sales and service of some sort was my normal for years. And before that, it was hospitality. Combined between the two, or three, I guess, it was about a decade. But deep down, I knew I wanted more. I wanted to step into coaching full-time. I wanted to work with clients, grow this podcast, and live a life of freedom and adventure. But I won't lie to you. I was scared, incredibly nervous, because this was the first time in my life that I was 100% accountable to myself. No boss, no set schedule, no built-in safety net. Just me, my vision, and a whole lot of uncertainty. I'll be honest with you. To be frank, I'm still quite nervous about it. But here's the thing about transitions, or change. It forces us to see what we're made of. It tests our ability to trust ourselves when there is no guarantee of success. And that is terrifying, but it's also the only way we grow. A quick question for you to marinate on. Have you ever made a life transition that made you feel like you were free falling? What fears held you back before taking that leap? I want you to sit with that for just a minute. Now let's talk about what happens after you take the big leap. Because let me tell you, I had this vision in my head that once I left my job, life was going to be all smooth sailing. I was going to wake up when I wanted, work when I wanted, play when I wanted. Total freedom. For about a week. It was amazing. But then something weird happened. Instead of feeling free, I felt lost. Too much freedom felt just as overwhelming as not enough. Suddenly, I was either working 80% of the time, burning myself out, trying to prove I could make it, or I was so unstructured that my daily to-do list sat untouched while I watched YouTube and told myself, I'll start fresh on Monday. Turns out, structure isn't just something other people impose on us. It's something that we inherently need. Have you ever struggled to find balance after stepping into something new? What limiting beliefs about work and success have shaped your mindset around this? This was the part of the transition I wasn't expecting. The mental shift. Because here's what I realized. I had spent years tying my sense of worth to how hard I worked. Somewhere along the way, I picked up the belief that if I wasn't grinding, I wasn't growing. That if work felt fun or easy, I must not be doing it right. Does that sound familiar? We live in a culture that glorifies the hustle. No days off, grind now, shine later. And while hard work is important, yes, the real question is, what are we working toward? Are we building a life that actually feels good to live? Or are we just proving to ourselves and everyone else that we can endure the struggle? Or if your mind went straight to, well, duh, it's retirement, don't be silly, Dylan. Well, if that's the case, then I encourage you to ponder on this. What is stopping you from attempting to build a life you don't need or want to retire from? So I made a decision. I wasn't going to let old productivity beliefs dictate how I live my life. Instead of forcing myself into an arbitrary schedule, I started listening to what felt in alignment. Some days I work longer, some days I play longer. The point is, it's all intentional. What old definitions of success do you have that no longer serve you? How can you create a daily structure that honors both discipline and freedom? The biggest thing I've personally learned in this transition is that growth isn't about reaching a final destination. It's about becoming the person we said we would be. Every time I show up for myself, every time I choose alignment over fear, every time I challenge an old belief about what success should look like, I'm reinforcing the truth that I am capable. And so are you. We don't have to have it all figured out. We just have to keep showing up. We need to keep planting the seeds that will one day become the fruits of our labor. What's one challenge in your life that is actually shaping you into the person you want to become? Who in your life supports your evolution, and how can you lean into that more? Life transitions can be messy, exciting, terrifying, and incredibly rewarding, all at the same time. The key is to redefine success on your own terms. Lean into the discomfort and trust that every challenge is shaping you into the person you are meant to be. As always, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Wolverine Lifestyle Podcast. If it resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need it. It's the best way to get this message out there if your stamp of approval is on it. And if you're ready to take a step further into your own self-exploration journey, grab my free ebook, 30 Days to Know Yourself. The link will be in the show notes along with all of the other links to the rest of my socials and resources. Until next time, remember, freedom isn't found in escaping structure, but in creating a structure that liberates your true self and creates space for the future you to manifest right now.